Morning class. Welcome to another lesson in Module 4, and today we'll discuss Module 4.4, which is the model for Christian values. So what are our desired learning outcomes? At the end of the lesson, the students would have acquainted themselves with the Beatitudes as the model for values that are inherently Christian. Secondly, identify practical life situations in which the Beatitudes can be applied. The word beatitude comes from the Latin word beatus, which means blessed or made happy, otherwise called macarism from the Greek word makarios, which also means blessed or fortunate. That's why beatus could be blessed, happy, or it could be rich. Some modern cynical people refer to the Beatitudes as the Beatitudes, as they say, how can a person today cope with such attitudes as being merciful, meek, pure, or sorrowing? After all, the world is hard and competitive. Jesus' answer might well be that the world is hard and competitive simply because there is not enough mercy, purity, meekness, sorrowing, and etc. By putting forth the values that he practiced in the Beatitudes, Jesus was advocating those values that, if accepted and claimed, would have led to happiness of those around. Let's take a look at this video about the real happiness as found in the Beatitudes.
Hey, do you want to be happy? Do you know how to be happy? Yeah, there are different opinions on that. Some people think that the way to happiness is to get rich and not need anybody. That you should live for the moment. That you should be proud and think you are the best. That you shouldn't care for people who suffer injustice. That you should take revenge on those who hurt you. That might makes right. And you should never stand up for what you believe in. Are you happy? Well, there is another way. When Jesus talked about being happy, he gave us the Beatitudes. Beatitude is another word for happy or being blessed. Jesus told us the way to true happiness is to know that we need God and we need each other. That when one of us suffers, we should all mourn together, and that we should care about those who suffer injustice. That it's better to be humble than arrogant. That mercy is better than revenge. That peace is better than fighting. And that we should stand up for what we believe, even if it means we'll suffer. Happy? Living the Beatitudes is living like Jesus did. It's the happiness your heart was made for.
So that's what the Beatitudes is all about. A closer look at the Beatitudes might help us see that they do not necessarily mean what we think they mean on first reading. What is the poor in spirit? It is found in Matthew 5, verse 3. Jesus is pronouncing a blessing upon simple, unspoiled folk. The blessing is not necessarily to those materially poor. It is to those who find themselves poverty-stricken spiritually. It is to those who recognize this poverty that the kingdom of heaven comes because they turn to God for spiritual enrichment. These are the people who declare their full dependence upon God, confessing that apart from God, they are nothing. Second one is the sorrowing. It's found in Matthew 5, verse 4. To be sad because of pain and suffering is not necessarily a virtue in itself. However, to be able to bear suffering courageously and with faith characterizes a member of the kingdom. The implication is that the Christian's sorrow as they try to understand and share their neighbor's pain. Third one is the meek in Matthew chapter 5 verse 5. To be meek is not being afraid or frightened as people think Jesus meant that persons should be patient, long-suffering, the opposite of rudely aggressive and proud. A meek person does not trample upon the rights of others. True meekness is not weakness. Another word for meek is gentle. A gentle person is polite, respectful, and strong, but the strength is under control. The fourth one is hungering and thirsting for righteousness. In Matthew 5 verse 6, the expression hunger and thirst for righteousness is a strong one. It is vital for us to ask ourselves what it is that we thirst or hunger for. What things draw us most to a particular direction? Is it fame or success? How would one hunger for righteousness? Jesus expects his followers to desire a knowledge of what is right. Righteousness for Jesus is a total attitude of mind, a particular kind of character, and a special style of living. The fifth one is the merciful, as found in Matthew 5 verse 7. To be merciful is to act in a manner of loving kindness to those in less fortunate circumstances. To be truly merciful is not only to have the right attitude, but also to perform deeds of mercy. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors are more than 9 words that are profound and true. Sixth one is the pure in heart, as found in Matthew 5 verse 8. Heart in scripture refers to the entire personality. Pure refers to the righteous of thought and motive. Those whose motives are pure will gain spiritual insights. One might wonder, how will the pure in heart see God? Some believe that this refers to life after death. Others say that as one develops this characteristic, God becomes evident in the world around that individual. The pure in heart are aware of the actions of God in their lives, whether they are in times of joy or sorrow. People who are pure in heart do not only mean to do the right, but also work with right motive. Seventh one, the peacemakers, is found in Matthew 5 verse 9. Being a peacemaker is another characteristic that gives joy to life. Those who work for peace are often misunderstood and persecuted. This is especially true in times of emotional crisis. Peacemakers run opposite many persons who seek to pray the fears and prejudices of people. The peacemakers are often called cowards. The peacemakers bring wholeness or health to the needs of others. Peacemakers do not avoid conflict but are able to settle differences. And the last, the persecuted in Matthew 5 verses 10 to 11. In the 8th Beatitude, Jesus describes those who suffer persecution for doing God's will. Suffering persecution in itself does not help a person find real joy in life. The secret in finding meaning and joy lies in what it is that brings about the persecution. Although most persons who are persecuted feel that it is for righteousness' cause, there are many who bring persecution on themselves by acting obnoxiously. Now, go back and take a look at what Jesus advocated as the means by which you become blessed or made happy. What do you see unusual about the list? So, where there is power, fame, beauty, and possessions, none of these are listed. The Beatitudes tell us that God reverses the standard by which we human beings measure people and things. To be held in esteem by the world is not necessarily held in esteem by God. One may be rich and powerful by worldly standards, but poor by God's standards. Remember that pure joy comes from loving Jesus first and foremost, caring and sharing to others, and by putting yourself last. And joy is not necessarily the absence of suffering, it is the presence of God. The Bible teaches that true joy is formed in the midst of difficult seasons of life. That's all for today. Thank you, and God bless. To God be the glory.